The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Good morning and welcome. It's Ask Dr. Doreen, and we're here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Good morning.
On a very big day.
It's a huge day. We're so
It is
excited.
a very huge day. I'm just glad it's finally here. Like, just bring it on already. I can't stand the anticipation. It's like Christmas Eve and all the things at the same time. Because what are we talking about this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'll count on you guys to do the math, whatever time zone you're in around the world. We're going to go live with the Autism Network Podcastathon, and we are going to attempt, with Traven's wonderful genius help, to stay live nonstop for 44 hours. I keep telling people that, and they're like, did you say 24 hours? No, 44 hours. And throughout that time, there's going to be nonstop resources, information, inspiration for
amazing guests who have so many different perspectives.
Yes. And really for everyone. I really honestly believe that we have found something for everyone.
I mean, it's an incredible lineup, honestly,
right?
Shannon. It's amazing. Good job. It's all you.
No, I mean, I was humbled by the fact that when we reached out to people, there was no hesitation. People were like, absolutely, I want to be a part. And we did a lot of, because a lot of the hours are going to be takeover hours. Sometimes they're in the studio, but a lot of times they're doing it from different places around the world.
Yes.
Where they are. And so we were doing just, practice connections with people the last week. And it was just amazing to talk to all these people who I love and respect and admire. And each one of them was saying, well, we're excited, but how are you and Traven? How are you and Doreen? How is everybody there? It was so nice that they even asked how we were doing, because they got their own stuff to worry about. But I'm thrilled, I'm excited, I'm humbled. And I can't wait for it to start.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be amazing. And right off the bat, I'm going to say thank you to you and Traven, because the two of you are going to be the most exhausted. So,
well, I think Traven gets to win.
Yeah.
Traven gets to win the exhaustion thing. But a lot of people are doing a lot of heavy lifting, and you are too. You're going to be on camera a lot of hours.
And I'm very excited about it. I get to do, I don't know, I think it's a total of like 6 hours of Ask Dr. Doreen or something.
I think so.
And then I do several interviews with people that I think are influencing the world in a good way.
Yes.
And then I also get to talk about potty training, and I get to talk about anxiety and lots of stuff. It'll be fun.
Amazing. And maybe in a second we'll go over some of the different things that are going to be happening. But I want to say good morning, first of all, to Our Journey Cameron's New Life. So thrilled that you're here. Autism Journey with Elijah, who is doing one of the takeovers for us, which we're very excited. Right. Taryn is with us. She says, it's the big day. Hello, ladies. Praying for you all that everything goes smoothly. Thank you. We'll accept your prayers. Autism Journey with Elijah says, this is amazing and incredible. What an honor to be a part of it. Well, it's an honor for us that you're a part of it too, and you're one of the people who, I said, would you be interested in doing this? And no hesitation. Yes, I'd love to do that.
It's amazing, and I'm hoping that some of our regulars will see their names when we're doing the show, because it always gives me so much energy to see the folks we know. Yes.
And I want to point out, whenever you're going to do something, you hope and pray for a slow news day. And the universe laughed at me and us because today is not a slow news day. So I'm just going to put it out there. We need your help. That if you could please, we've done press releases and we've notified the media and we've done all that, but it's not a slow news day. So we're counting on you guys to spread the word in whatever way that you can. It's 44 hours long, so you've got plenty of opportunity for everybody to, so if you want to share the feed on your Facebook, or do a post about it, we appreciate any and all support that you can give us to put the word out and let people know that this is happening. I also want to say that we're doing a big shout out and a thank you to Discovery Toys, because throughout many of the hours, especially that you and I are going to be a part of, they have given us some wonderful gift certificates that we are going to be giving away. We'll tell you at the start of the hour if we're going to be giving away Discovery Toys gift certificates, and we'll every time that you write in a comment and or a question, or that you share or put somebody's name in a comment, then you will be, and you can do this on Facebook or YouTube, then that will enter one entry for that hour, and by the end of the hour we will announce who the winners for that hour
that's
are.
awesome.
So we've got a lot. They've been very generous. We've got a lot of Discovery Toys, if you guys don't know, really, really wonderful. I do want to say that the gift certificates will only be good on the Discovery Toys website, the United States website. We'll make sure when we give you the gift certificate, it will tell you what website to go to purchase them. They will not be good in stores or on Amazon. So, but it will be good on their website. And I love their toys. They've been frequent winners in our toy guide, so they're good toys. They're the kind of toys you see on like Baby Einstein videos.
Yeah,
where you go, where'd they get those toys? Discovery Toys. So anyway, we're so excited about that. Also, I was saying today, I'm not having a good hair day.
I don't know.
How
I
could this
disagree.
be?
I love your hair today.
It looks like a white helmet. How can you love this? But thank you. I appreciate it.
You're just saying that to gear yourself up for the end of the...
Yes, for something very exciting. Do you want to tell them what we're going to do in the final hour?
Well, I'm hoping that we will raise enough funds.
Yes.
What was our goal for this?
Well, we've said that we would like to raise $5,000
For iPads,
that would be iPads for children on the spectrum, children and teens and adults on the
Right.
spectrum. So,
And if we raise $5,000, I will have the great joy of shaving Shannon's head live on our last hour.
in the last hour.
Which will be tremendous. I'm so excited about that.
The clippers are here. They're charged. They're cordless, so that you're just going to be able to...
I ordered myself an apron.
Oh, very good. Because
can't
I
wait.
have the little tie-on thing.
Oh, you do?
I do.
I ordered a better, like one of those that catches the hair. So we'll have fun. We'll have some fun.
That's so funny. Well, we started in the pandemic. I have been cutting my own hair. I've not gone to a salon since the
Amazing.
pandemic started, and eventually I ordered like really good clippers, and I cut my husband's hair.
That's awesome.
My son won't allow me to cut his hair anymore. I don't know why. And so
I wonder why.
he looks like an Amish potato farmer right now. His hair is about like this long, and he's almost at the
Really?
point where he can put it in a man bun. And so,
That's
did
hilarious.
Sonny ever grow his hair long? Did he ever go through the...
No, just when he was really little.
It's a thing, so there you go. But I'm going to be the baldest one in the family.
Oh my gosh.
Which will be so fun.
But you look so great bald. So
I don't mind being bald.
Yeah,
Bald is
looks
good for
good.
me. I have no problems with it. So please make it happen. All we need is $5,000. And by the way, we'll accept more. And I think at some point, Traven will show you how you can participate in and donate. It's a very specific challenge. We've created its own donation page for it for Autism Care Today. And, $5,000, whatever you have on the couch cushions. There's no donation too small, by the way.
Absolutely, and we work really hard. We do a lot to try to get funds for Autism Care Today to make these donations, and I'm really proud of Act Today because it's our nonprofit that we founded. Gosh, I think it was almost 20 years ago. I should look up the year because it could be 20 exactly.
Yeah.
And, we've given out over $2 million to families for services and iPads. Of course, that's a very common request because there's a lot of kids out there who cannot communicate. Yeah. And iPads are fabulous for communication and also for just reinforcers, things that the kids can do educational games on and learn.
Yeah.
So, we ask you to please help us get the $5,000. I told my son, Sonny, yesterday that I'm going to do this, and he said, "What? 5,000, you should increase it to 10,000.
Well, as soon as it gets to 5,000, I am going to increase it to 10,000. So there we go. But don't anybody tell. Shh, it's our little secret. I also want to say hello to Alicia, who is joining us. Alicia, I want you to know that I saw your email this morning. I'm going to ask your forgiveness that I'm not going to email you back for probably 48 hours. But I saw your email, and yes, I will, because she asked for a PowerPoint about. We did a talk recently about how to get an aid and how to utilize an aid in the classroom.
Okay.
But she would also like to get on your list to have you see her wonderful daughter.
Absolutely.
So, see, Alicia, I did read your email at like 5 a.m. this morning. Okay. And by the way, Autism Journey with Elijah, hopefully it won't cause anybody in the States to lose sleep. Because, well, I don't know.
It caused her to lose sleep because she has one of those tough hours.
I just realized, I think you work nights too. So, oh, I see. I thought you meant about the head shaving. The head shaving is going to be happening in the morning during our usual time that we do our show, from 10 to 11.
Correct.
Pacific time. Okay. I see your muchas gracias. There we go. Okay, so we are going to get to questions today, but I also, in between all of it, I want to talk a little bit about the podcastathon, about some very particular hours that I think that people should attend to, that I think whether it's going to be extra fun or it's going to be extra informative, things that you've never seen before. But
our schedule is on the website, so
yes.
Please go to Autism Live, right?
It's actually autismnetwork.com. And then when you get there, you'll see there are all kinds of things that say podcastathon podcast. So we put it, because everybody we talk to are like, well, I would like it here, and I would like it here, and I would like it there. So we put it as many places on that first page as you can find it. And there's a place where it says, click here to see the calendar by hour. Do that, and then you can scroll through. And it's really fun. I scroll through about 8-9 times a day, and not because I have to, because I want to. I'm like, ooh, and it's cruel because I have to sleep during the hours that I'm not here.
It's going to be great. Yeah.
It's going to be great.
I'm excited.
I'm excited about it too. But we do want to get to some questions. You guys can be asking questions live during this hour. Don't forget that we're going to be doing 2 full more hours of Ask Dr. Doreen today.
Today, that's right.
Later on today.
At 4, I believe.
Why don't we go through the first 5 hours? Because the first 5 hours are pretty intensely us. So the first hour is the kickoff.
Which is amazing.
It really is.
Tell them who our guests are.
So you and I will be co-hosting that hour, but our guests, they're going to be sitting right here in the studio with us, Joe Mantegna. You guys know him from Criminal Minds and the voice of Fat Tony on The Simpsons. That's one of my favorite credits.
I didn't even know that he's the voice of Fat Tony. Wow.
He has a jacket that they gave him that he wears almost. In fact, he wore it to the All Ghouls Gala.
Oh, that is
and
from
it said
that.
Fat Tony on it.
Oh my gosh.
And because I was like, nice jacket, and he was like, oh, it's a Fat Tony jacket, which I didn't realize because he had a Simpson jacket on. But he's also searching for Bobby Fischer, the Godfather. I mean, hello, this man's
he's such
resume.
a great actor.
And he's a mensch. He's like
he's an awesome guy, and he's, for so many years, he has just kind of, my dear friend Lou Diamond Phillips used to say that it's a pleasure and an honor to kind of put my spotlight on autism, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Joe does and has done for so many years.
Amazing. And he's a dad. He's got 2 daughters, one who is on the spectrum. They're both adults now and are doing great, and got an amazing wife. What a team they are. So we can't wait for Joe to be here. Then Holly Robinson Peete, who I adore.
Amazing. Wow.
Holly, and part of the kernel of the seed of everything that I do, a million years ago, right when Jem was being diagnosed with autism, my girl is Oprah. I love me some Oprah.
Of course.
And I, whenever I was in most need, it seemed like I always used to say, and my son used to say, Oprah is mommy's fairy godmother.
Oh.
Because I would turn on the TV and she would be saying something that I needed to hear in that moment, right? And I turned on the TV, and there was Holly sitting there with Jenny McCarthy talking about autism.
Right.
And it was a life-changing day for me. It changed, and Holly said something that changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So I've always loved her. And if you guys didn't see her on The Masked Singer last week, you have to Google it and look it up. We're going to talk about it today. But she sang, and it was serious business.
We should try to show a segment of it on when
I don't
she's
know if
here.
they'll let us, but you have to. We'll talk with her
was
about what it was
amazing.
like being on The Masked Singer, because that's a whole secret thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But what an amazing mom she is.
Oh, yeah.
4 kids. RJ is on the spectrum, and what a life they have led. And she's got a powerful new role at Hallmark, where she's doing a lot of things and getting Hallmark to be inclusive and subject matter about autism. So we're thrilled that Holly's here, and we're going to talk about that singing thing, because I see an album in her future.
Amazing.
I mean, there's no way that can't happen. And then, of course, the fabulous and lovely Kobe Bird. He is the actor who played Rufus on Lock and Key, and he was also on Speechless and The Good Doctor. He has been at the forefront of really tearing down boundaries. There the 3 of them are right there, tearing down boundaries so that people who are actually autistic, and that's the hashtag, actually autistic, are playing roles, characters that are on the spectrum.
Yeah, I love that.
That authentic
love
representation. So he's amazing. He did a project for us this week that we're going to be talking about too in the studio, because it was kind of amazing. So that's the first hour. Like, how are we going to live through that? And then afterwards, we're going to be like, oh, that was so good. But then we crack the whole thing wide open, and then we do the first hour of Ask Dr. Doreen.
Right, right.
And so
Which
you guys
will be at 4 p.m. today.
Yep, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Then the second hour, the third hour will be Ask Dr. Doreen, but you're going to give your ultimate anxiety talk.
That's today, okay.
That's today.
Great, yeah.
It's nice. I'm telling her how that goes. And then after that, so you'll be here the first 3 hours. After that, we've told you that you're excused if you want to be excused. But then we start into 2 hours of Autism Live in the first hour, and I'm just taking it on.
I mean, no one's going to want to leave at this point.
I know. So the first hour of Autism Live, we're welcoming Dr. Stephen Shore, who will be joining us virtually for the whole hour. Going to do because we never have time with him.
Right.
So we're going to be talking with him, and then the hour after that, which is 7 p.m. Pacific time, it's Dr. Temple Grandin. Her new book comes out today.
Oh, wow.
It's called Autism and Education as I See It, and it's really taking on, from Temple's point of view, education. She's got a lot to say about that, so we're really excited about that. Then we take a break and we throw the reins over to the fabulous Dr. Carrie Magro, who's hosting a Stories from the Spectrum for us.
Yep, this is awesome.
And then we're gonna do some questions, and you guys can look to see what the next few hours are after that, because it's really amazing. But wonderful. Okay, we do have a question here. I've got questions here too. But Autism Journey with Elijah says, can you please answer this? We had a friend who's her granddaughter, who she is living with from Oregon, now into Arizona. She just turned 18 in November. Can you please tell me any resources that can help her with her granddaughter? She understands. It's so interesting that you wrote this in, because it goes right with our topic. She understands that 18 is the adult age. We just don't know what we can do to help her. They found her this morning. She has an understanding of a 12-year-old. So I'm concerned about, did she just show up? Or is it that they knew that she was coming? Because the way you worded that, it sounds a little bit like maybe she wasn't expected. So I'm curious about that.
Right.
Do you have more questions while we're asking questions?
No. I think what you're asking, though, is just sort of resources in Arizona. And it's interesting because if I had to pick a place to be when I'm 18 and have autism, it would probably be Arizona, because Denise Resnick's organization, SARC, is there. And I'm not going to attempt to say the exact acronyms, what SARC stands for, but it is SAARC, I believe, and they are in Phoenix, and they might have other locations as well, but Denise is a mom who founded this organization, and she does fundraising every year, and they were one of the very first who developed a center for adults. And so they have programs and education and training and therapy and resources, and everyone in Arizona, especially if you're in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area, everybody knows SARC. So I would definitely get in touch with them, and I'm sure they will guide you the right way.
There you go. Wonderful. It's an amazing, and it's amazing that you brought up the grandparent thing because our topic today was about involving everyone in our first question. I am a grandparent, and I would love your advice on how to support my daughter. Her son was diagnosed with autism. What do I need to know?
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really, really lovely to have parents who want to support their children who have children on the spectrum. It is, as we all know, it takes a village. And there's lots of different ways you can support your child and your grandchild. I would say probably it would be important to start out with, actually one of our guests who's coming on this, I think maybe tomorrow, is Steve Edelson, who runs Autism Research Institute. And honestly, I mean, it is called Autism Research Institute, but it is one of the most effective and just comprehensive resources for information. Their website has always, and I've known Steve for, gosh, I think 40 years or so, but their website has always been a fantastic resource in providing information. So I would start with a place like that. I would go on the website, learn about autism, learn kind of what the symptoms are, but then also learn, more importantly, about the treatments that are available. Obviously, the number one treatment that has been approved by the Surgeon General and is therefore also funded by medical insurance is ABA, or Applied Behavior Analysis, which is critical for a child, especially when they're younger. Speech therapy, occupational therapy, particularly of a sensory integration mode, dietary interventions, so vital to learn about that as a grandparent.
Yes.
And of course, then I think the biggest thing I could tell grandparents is to be open-minded and really listen to what the parents of the child want. You could be someone that they can shoot ideas off of and have dialogue and discussions, but I think you don't want to add stress. And too many times I've seen grandparents have their own plan and their own path that
Agenda?
they think, that they think is the right thing to do, and it's not always the thing the parent wants to do, and that just produces additional stress for the parent because they are already, you have to realize that as a parent, and most of our viewers are parents, it's very hard, right? It's hard to figure out what the right thing is. It's hard to do the right things and not do the wrong things. It's hard to know how much of the right thing, which provider, what's right for my child, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much advice given to parents, and yet there's no one direction. So they have to be the ones figuring it all out. So if you can help them with the research and just let them kind of read through it and make a decision and then support them with whatever they decide, that is probably the biggest help you can give. And then the other thing I would say, Shannon, I'm sure you'll agree with this, is if you can give them respite every once in a while. Like, parents of kids on the spectrum are exhausted, they're tired. And if you can give them time off, if you can take the child and allow them to just rest and, just take care of themselves, that'll be a huge help.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Although the one asterisk I would put is that it kind of takes the two things that you said and put them together, is that when you're doing the respite, make sure that you're doing it to the letter of what they said, whatever the agenda that the parents said.
Absolutely right.
My dear departed mother, who I adored, and who, I didn't have Jem until I was almost 41. I was like 3 months before my 41st birthday. So it was an event that I had become a mother, what I mean? And my mother was so excited about that and wanted so much to be a part of that. And then, of course, we got the diagnosis, and I initially said to my mother, "You can't come." She was living in Iowa at the time, and I said, "You can't come. I need a little time to figure this out for us and get our house set up, and so you can't come for a while." And that hurt her feelings a lot. And I feel bad about that, but it was something that I felt that we needed to do. Then when she did come, she was walking into something that was already set up, and it wasn't to her thinking.
Right.
You know, to her thinking, if somebody hits you,
Yeah.
you give them a lecture and you put them in the corner.
Right,
which is
right.
often not what we would do depending on why they hit, right?
Right.
And so she had a really hard time, and there was a pivotal moment where, you know, first of all, she blamed me for him. She said, he doesn't have autism. You just have spoiled him. You and your husband waited too long to have a child. It's all your fault. And if you would just discipline him, and I remember saying, what am I supposed to do? Beat him? I'm not going to do that.
Oh my gosh.
He doesn't understand what's going on. And she just was yakking at me and telling me how much it was all my fault. And I said to her, Mom, what I need right now more than anything else is your support or your silence.
Yeah.
I'll let you pick which one you want to do. And of course, in true fashion of my mother, who was a character, she said, well, I guess I'll have to be silent because I can't be supportive.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit here and be silent, although I'm going to chew my tongue because I'm going to sit here, you know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
And I just let her have that. But once she got to the other side, it caused her to be still for a minute. When she finally got run down, and so then she could listen for a minute, and then she was present to see what we were doing.
Yeah.
And that changed her.
Yeah, that's important.
She saw what we were doing, and once she saw how he was learning, she said, this is the most amazing thing. Why isn't this featured on the news every night?
Yeah.
Why aren't more people talking about this? And she became his champion, and she would be present with him. So often people come in and they're like, well, we're going to do this, instead of being present with the kiddo. And so I'm just saying to grandparents, and it doesn't matter whether the individual is 18 or 3, try being present with them. You don't have to know everything about autism or how to, I hear a lot of people will say, well, I don't know how to talk to them.
Right.
Well, okay, then just try sitting with them.
Yeah.
Try, doing something on the table. I watch you when you're with a kid with autism, and it's not a brass band. You just zero in on them, and you're there with them, and you're listening to them.
Yeah, and that's all you have to do, really. It's just be present. And I mean, it helps if I think a lot of people, Shannon, feel uncomfortable because they don't know how to react or respond.
Yeah.
And I think it's important if you learn the language, which for me is like 2 things help me. One is knowing ABA helps, because I think knowing ABA is the language. But the other thing is just always putting yourself in the individual's shoes.
Yes.
And just like, if someone is showing that they're, I don't know, disturbed or something, then thinking, oh, maybe it's these lights. Maybe it's, and asking them, what can I do? Are you okay? Do you need something? Should I turn off the lights? Should we go? Just like making sure that you understand them.
Yeah, absolutely. So 100% is written in and says that they are, in fact, the grandparent of the person, the 18-year-old. She wanted to come and live here with my daughter. Her dad took her when she was a baby and told her nothing about us. I'm so sorry. She was connected to my daughter at the age of 16. Her dad gave us no background. We finally, after 2 years, have gotten medical background. She is getting DDD services, and her diagnosis is autism, ADHD, depression, and anxiety thus far. She ran away over the weekend. She was found this morning. I see, now I got it. We need to get her reevaluated. So that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. But I'm so glad that you found her, because that has to have been the most frightening weekend for you.
Absolutely.
When she ran away.
Unfortunately, she's in Flagstaff, but you're not too far from Phoenix, and I think it's really worth the journey, because if you go, I had recommended SARC, which I'm not sure if they have services in Flagstaff, but if you start out with a center like SARC, they have all around services, so they can do an evaluation. They actually have a physician, I think he's still with them, Ron Melmet, and he will do the evaluation. He has a whole center, the Melmet Center, and they will do all the evaluations. If there's a need for medication, such as if she has depression, anxiety, then she might need to be on medication, and then they will also connect you to people who can do the ABA and speech, whatever she needs. She might, I don't know her functioning level, but she might need psychotherapy. Whatever that she needs, they can help you find.
We recently had Dr. Melmed on the show, so
Okay.
you can look and just
There you go.
search on our channel and you can see our interview with him. But he is very much there and loves working with adults. So check that out. I also want to say that our journey, Cameron's New Life, says my employer's grandson was just diagnosed. How can I support her and her family? Which I think, I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful thing. They also note that they've shared the show with her and my book as well.
Great.
I hope Dr. Granpeesheh's book
Great.
as well. And they also commented that their mom and son were soulmates even without words. So much of communication is not words.
That's right. That's very true. And I think it's just, again, with new parents, helping them, and especially you as a mom who's connected to so many others, I think just helping them with the core resources. You know, Shannon and I often talk about, and we intended to do if we didn't have all these other million things to do, but we've done a talk several times. We intended to actually turn it into a book about kind of like the 10 things.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
It's on, like Donkey Kong. It's
right.
happening.
We'll do it. And it's like the things that you just need to make sure that they attend to. So, you know, have them make sure that they are able to get a good assessment so that they have an understanding of their child's skills and areas of need. Make sure that if they have biomedical issues, like whether it is gastrointestinal inflammation or any allergies or anything like that, that is taken care of and seen by a functional medicine doctor. If they need to be on a diet, make sure they are able to reach a good dietitian or nutritionist. Make sure the child is sleeping. That's a big, big, big one. A lot of times we just ignore that. Sleep is super important. And make sure that if if they are doing a diet, you're also keeping them off of things that are just unhealthy for everyone, like food coloring and sugar and all that sort of stuff. And then make sure they have access to things like speech and occupational therapy and ABA, of course, and parent education. And if you can help them find those resources, I think that's a huge, huge help.
Absolutely. I love that they say with my employer, I just listen a lot and share my experience with her, trying to keep things at a professional level too. Because, everybody needs something different and you don't know, and she may not know what she needs yet. And so listening is a great thing. But I love that, thank you for sharing my book with them. And you know what else? You can tell them, I know her. If you ever have a question for her, I know her.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we always have your book on the set, except we don't right now because they wanted to know the title of your book,
Sure.
which is always a mouthful.
Yeah.
Do you remember it? Because it's a mouthful.
I think Traven's looking for it right now, and he might
We
bring
had
it
them
up.
all over the
I'm
set.
actually, I'm actually not sure that it is the right book for parents because it's so scientifically written that.
I think it's for when you're further along.
Yeah, and also if you're like a professional in the field, but if you look up my name, I'm sure on my website there's copies of it. But what I was gonna actually say is that, we talk about all the resources, right? And all the things, but that's assuming that the parent is like ready to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we forget that parents have their own issues, right? And like that's the reason that I'm doing this talk on anxiety, because it's not just that our kids suffer with things like depression and anxiety. The parents obviously do.
Yeah.
And we forget that sometimes in the beginning, especially when a child is diagnosed, what they really, really need is just someone to hold them through the fear.
Yeah.
And there's just so much fear associated with this. And parents, are often thinking, thank you. Parents are often thinking that what am I going to do? What's going to happen? All of their dreams are shattered, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just so scary. And so maybe in the beginning, what you're doing is probably the best thing, which is just listen to them and assure them that they'll be okay. I mean, listen, you know, it's 1 in 36 kids now. Not, and that's data from almost 3 years ago. So it's certainly there are millions of people going through this as well, but it is nevertheless a very scary experience.
So the grandparent of the 18-year-old wants to know, can she still get ABA at the age of 18?
Yes, yes, you can. And actually, that's one of the beautiful things is that, you know, Arizona itself actually had when it's initially, the law changed in Arizona, it had a cap of 16, but that's no longer there because it's not, parity won't allow it to happen.
The MAPIA.
I
I used to have a MAPIA button on.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we ran around like a bunch of people for a lot of years, and we really, really hoped that ABA was going to be a mandate in all 50 states, and then it became clear that we were going to have to get it individually in each state.
Right.
And a lot of states passed things, and they put caps on things
Right,
and said,
right.
you know, you can only have this much therapy until the time that you're 7, and after that you can have this much therapy, and it ends at 16, all these arbitrary, ridiculous things that aren't shown to be, you know, anything based in science, but it was what got put into law. But people like the fabulous Julie Cornack.
I was just going to say, honestly, it's amazing the things that Julie has accomplished.
Yeah.
And, you know, I should probably ask her if she would be on our show.
There you go.
Because, honestly, one of the bills that she was responsible for was to make sure that there are no age limits in lots of different states. And so, yes, you can get ABA. It's harder to find providers, honestly, who are willing to do ABA with 18-year-olds, but you certainly can get ABA, and I think that SARC, this is one of the things I like about SARC, is that Denise herself has an adult child, and so she's very much about resources for adults.
There you go. But in any case, if you're in a state where it has these caps, it's very possible that your insurance is, not in all cases, but there's the Mental Health Parity Act, which basically says, I'm going to paraphrase greatly and hope that Julie doesn't break out into hives, but it says that if in the policy, there is any place in the policy, and that it says that if, let's say you were in a car accident and you needed to relearn how to do something.
Yeah.
If there's anything and there's no caps there, then they can't arbitrarily put it on something else like autism.
Correct.
So what we found is that a lot of those ridiculous state caps are really nothing.
Yeah.
They're a nothing burger. They'll trot them out to try to dissuade you from getting services, but if you know MAPIA, the Mental Health Parity Act, then you can say, no, that's against the law, and it is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing whenever I'm someplace and a parent is telling me something along these lines, like, you know, my child is being denied, all their services stopped, they're 8, and we tell them about MAPIA, and that it literally is something that can change in a minute. It isn't something where you got to do a bunch of papers. If you just say the right thing, it changes. Everybody gets very excited about it.
I see that the grandparent or parent has written in and says the law says she's 18, so she can do what she wants, she's an adult, which is true, but I think once you get the evaluation, you can get guardianship or conservatorship, and then you can make those decisions. And that is a little bit harder when they're post-18. I often tell parents of children who are still struggling quite a bit at 17 or 16 to work on getting guardianship, because then that problem just doesn't exist for you once they hit 18. But hopefully you still can, depending on what her evaluation is.
Yeah, and people get very nervous about conservatorship because they think it's taking away all of that individual's rights. There are many different stages of conservatorship, and you can click, it's almost like a takeout menu. You can click what you want versus, so you can say, hey, you know, they're in charge of who they marry, but I'm in charge of their finances. Or, you know, whatever is needed for that individual. But you can start that process and should start that process right away, because if she took off already and was gone for the weekend, the law will tell you that she does have the right to do that. And if you feel that she can't handle that, then you need to be talking to a lawyer like today.
It's difficult.
the great Bonnie Yates would recommend to you COPAA.org, which is the Council of Parent Advocates and Attorneys.
Yes.
COPAA.org. You can go there, put in your city, and they will make recommendations about people who, we can't say carte blanche that everybody on it is great. Very often, they are people who are parents of individuals that were special needs. They kind of get it in a different way. They're priced a little bit more appropriately. So they're a great resource if you're looking for anything legal, COPAA.org.
That's awesome.
There we go. Okay, we did have another question that somebody said, help. This is the opposite side of the equation. Help, my mother-in-law does not think our son is on the spectrum, even though he was given a 3-3 rating. How do I get her on board?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Well,
maybe tell people what that 3-3 means.
Yeah, so 3-3 means pretty severe. In other words, this individual needs the most amount of support available to them for both their communication, social communication abilities, and also their ritualistic, stereotypical abilities. So that means that they're showing a lot of symptoms of autism. And I don't understand why they would not accept the diagnosis. Perhaps the person who gave you the 3-3 diagnosis also must have written a report. Perhaps you can, print out that report and show it to your mother-in-law, or perhaps it's not your burden to convince your mother-in-law at this point, because, like I said, you have enough going on, right? As parents, we're just worried about stuff and dealing with things and, having to convince others of what's going on in your life. Maybe you should just put that one on the side for now.
Yeah.
Because, go about and do your thing. You know what you're doing. You've already got the diagnosis. Move forward, get your services. And as Shannon said, sometimes the grandparents change just by seeing the effect of what you're doing.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of editing. And when you have extra things that come into your life, and when your child is diagnosed with autism, you have extra things that have come into your life. You suddenly now need to get a PhD in funding for autism treatment programs. You need to understand the legal laws around
so many
IEPs.
Things, so many
You've got to
things.
Get the whole family healthy. You have all these things that you have to do, and you're struggling to learn how to be the best advocate and ally for your child. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I frequently joke and say to people, now is not the time to take on the school bake sale. You're going to tell the PTA that you're busy. And sometimes that means that there are some people in your life that you have to say, I can't right now.
Yeah.
And you don't even, I love that you're like, maybe that's not your problem.
I mean, you just, how much can you handle as a parent? There's just, and the thing that I always want to remember is that, and you know this, Shannon, you're going through your own emotions as well. So just handling your own stuff, and possibly you have other children.
Yes.
And then whatever is going on with your spouse's emotions towards this, and then picking all the appropriate things for your child. It's too much.
And in general, I think people mostly mean well. Like even when my mother showed up and said to me, you're doing this all wrong and you caused this, I think she meant well.
Yes.
I think that she thought, this is my daughter, I've taught her wrong, and I need to help her with her child, right?
Yeah.
She was coming from a place of wanting to help me, but wanting to help and helping are two entirely different things.
Absolutely.
And so, if we look at from the point of view of, okay, this mother-in-law wants to be helpful, she's probably very rigid in how she thinks children should be raised, and does not want a reality in which her grandchild is on the spectrum.
Exactly. That's
right.
That's what they just wrote. She wants the child to be normal.
Yeah,
yep, you're right.
And so and that's her deal.
Yep.
That's her deal.
Yep.
And we can feel bad for her and sorry for her. But as you said, don't let it affect you.
Yeah.
You've got miles to run, places to go, things to do, and we can't make everybody happy all the time.
No, right. And she will 100% come around.
Yeah. This is a topic that gets written about a lot. When Jason Katims had the show Parenthood, I don't know if people remember that.
I remember that, yeah.
And there was a character, because Jason Katims is a dad, and so he represented in the show that he was producing. It's not the only show he's done about autism, but In fact, Joe Mantegna was on his most recent one. But I remember that there was a scene because the grandfather had constantly been saying, he doesn't have autism, he's like, you know, like the rest, he's, you know, one of us and he's going to do this and whatever. And then Granddad said, I'm going to take him on a fishing trip. And everybody was a little bit nervous about it, and they went on the fishing trip, and he was there for maybe 2 hours and called and said, help, I don't know what to do. And the dad talked him through and said, okay, well, first, you know, you have to tell him.
It sounds like a great episode.
It was a great episode.
And the granddad was Craig T. Nelson, wasn't it?
Yes, the fabulous Craig T. Nelson. But that show ripped me completely apart.
That was a great show,
It was a great show.
That was a great show.
I wonder if it's on Netflix or something
I'm
like
sure
it.
you can stream it somewhere.
Because it was a really good show.
It was a fabulous show.
It showed what it was like for a family.
Yep.
How the brothers and sisters reacted.
Right.
Because
Lorelai, or what's her name? I forget.
From the Gilmore Girls, yes. Because the brother whose child was on the spectrum was always the brother who was doing everything for everybody else.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden, he had this child on the spectrum, and people were still coming to him and saying, well, I need you to do this.
Yeah.
And until one time where he turned around and said, hey,
I can't,
has anybody noticed that I have something real going here, and can you take care of your own crap for a moment for yourself?
Yeah.
And then everybody sort of shifted and made room, and the family had to learn how to be their sensory wise.
That's true.
With their, and that young man, the young man who played the character on the spectrum, what a talented actor he was, and what a great supporter of ACT Today. Do you remember? Because he was at your 20th anniversary.
Who was it?
Oh my gosh, and I'm not going to remember his name right now, but a really, really talented young actor who played that role.
Okay,
but I'll find it. We've interviewed him several times. I'm just having an old fart moment.
Oh.
But I can't arrange my brain.
How's that? I'll look him up while you're reading the next.
There we go. I love that Amanda Bright is here. Amanda, I'm so glad that I get to be one of your people. She posted something this morning about how she was looking for her people, and I was like, please, can I be one of your people? And so I'm happy that I get to be one of your people. Our Journey Cameron's New Life says, it took my husband years after diagnosis to want to interact with us.
Max Burkholder. Of course, I remember him. What a great guy.
What a menschy little mensch he was.
Yes.
And really just a sweet kid who would go
sweet.
and watch kids on the spectrum.
Yes.
I mean, the truth is that now, with representation the way we have, it would be someone on the spectrum playing, but I thought that Max was
did a great
really
job.
respectful.
Great job, yeah.
And did that. But now we're talking about the husbands. And can I say, as we shift back to the podcastathon, that we've got some amazing dads on this podcastathon.
Yes,
I
that's
wanted
true.
to
Very
make
good point.
sure that dads were represented on this podcastathon. So, you know, we've got Joe Mantegna, who's going to be here. And then we have the Just Two Dads, both special needs dads that are also financial wizards. They're starting a dads group. If there's any hour that, you know, that you guys could watch and have your husband watch, that would be a great one. We also have the Autism Dadvocate, Paul Carroll, who is, you know, it's like taking a warm bath listening to his podcast.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it's the dad perspective, and it's so, so different.
It is very different.
So I love that. Then we have Kyle Jessel, who is the driven autism dad, and he is very inspirational, talks to parents about what it feels like inside when it feels like there's chaos in your house.
Yes.
And how you can come at it in the wrong way and make it worse, or you can turn it around and show up for your kids. He's got a great point of view on that. Really remarkable. And I feel like I'm missing one more set of dads. But dads are represented, and this is a very specific thing for dads. It's different for dads. And so I hope that you guys will tune in. And by the way, somebody asked a while back about, you know, none of us can stay up for 44 hours. I can't stay up for 44 hours. But each episode will be recorded, and they will be available in podcasts, not this week. It's going to take us a week to be able to pump them out. So probably sometime next week, they'll all be available in podcast. And then we're going to be re-airing them throughout the month of April.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, there's nothing like being here and interacting live.
Absolutely.
There's nothing like that, like you guys are doing right now. I'm sorry? Oh, we have a new app. the Autism Live app that just came out yesterday because Traven is fantastic. So go on the App Store right now and download the Autism Live app.
Wow.
Do yourself that favor. Amanda says, Parenthood is always on repeat on my Hulu. There we go. Love Max. He did an awesome job. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. I think we've hit most of the questions here. I hope I didn't miss something that somebody said. Let's take a minute to talk about, I'm especially interested in the hours where you're going to be interviewing people that you feel have made a big influence on the autism community. So can we talk about some of the people that you're going to be interviewing?
Absolutely.
Like Steve Edelson, you mentioned him before.
Yeah, Steve is an amazing guy. I think I met Steve Edelson, Dr. Steve Edelson, back in, gosh, it would have been like maybe 90 or 91.
And did you guys meet because of Bernie Rimland, or was
No.
that just a coincidence?
So I had met Bernie Rimland, Dr. Bernie Rimland. What an amazing pioneer he was. But I had met Bernie back in earlier when Dr. Ivar Lovas, who was my mentor at UCLA, had introduced me to Bernie years before that. But I met Steve actually through a parent who was an amazing physician herself. Both parents were physicians, and they worked at Cedars-Sinai, and they were. This was the beginning of auditory integration therapy, and Steve was doing research on it to try to determine whether or not it was something valid. So he and I met, and we talked about some assessments to determine whether or not this is effective and so on. And then, of course, later he was at, I don't even know if that time he was already at Autism Research Institute. He must have been, because he knew Bernie for years. And so Dr. Bernie Rimland, who would have been Steve's guru, I guess, was a wonderful man who, back in the, he had an autistic adult son, and he was one of the very first people. He wrote a book, I think in the 60s even, where he spoke about how autism, back in the 60s, and people might not know this, but there was a big belief that autism had to do with cold parenting, and this was the theory, refrigerator mom, and this was the theory of a gentleman called Bruno Bettelheim. Unfortunately, people like Dr. Bernie Rimland came out and wrote about it and said that's absolutely ridiculous, and it has nothing to do with that, and that there are chemical imbalances that need to be dealt with. And Bernie, all the way back to the 60s, was a very, very strong supporter of this is biomedical. We need to look at what is causing this. And, that's pretty brilliant. I mean, there's a show of Bernie. You can see Bernie being interviewed on a show literally in, I think, 64, speaking about this. And it's pretty brilliant. And he was also the founder of DAN, which was Defeat Autism Now. So I knew Bernie for a long, long time, and he brought together a lot of physicians from all over the world, supported the dietary interventions that were way back in like the early 90s were being supported or presented. And then Steve took over, worked with Bernie at the Autism Research Institute, and then took over as their executive director, I guess. And he is, in his own way, quite a brilliant guy and has done a tremendous job. Their newsletter is still, to me, the best resource. They have an amazing website that has lots and lots of, not just video of presentations that are done, but also articles. They sponsor research. That's just fabulous. Steve is an amazing guy. So I'm happy to be talking to him. I also have some of my very old friends and colleagues from the days that we used to work together at CARD, and these folks have all gone on to do other brilliant things. Dr. Kat Hurd will talk about her new center that she has opened in Louisiana called Mercy, and excited to hear about what she's doing. And then, of course, Hank Moore and John Galley both work for Star of California, and I'm interested to learn more about that organization and all the wonderful work they're doing. Let's see, who else do I have coming on the show? I'm interviewing some folks from Saudi Arabia, and I'm excited to talk to them because they will, of course, be telling me about kind of what's going on with autism in that region. I'm working with some folks there to open centers and bring resources to the Middle East.
Sarah Litvak.
Sarah Litvak, of course, my dear friend Sarah Litvak, who is founder and also CEO of Behavioral Health Center of Excellence, BHCOE, and that organization is really fabulous in that it, like how people, individuals get licensed, like they become BCBA, and BHCOE then goes in and looks at whole organizations and then accredits them if they have a certain level of quality. And so that I'd love for Sarah to tell us about some of the cool stuff BHCOE is involved with. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. So I want to encourage everybody, we're down to the end here, but I want to encourage everybody that couple of things. Please share about the podcast-a-thon or share about the fundraiser to shave my head, or both, whichever makes you happy. Because if you're tuning in late, if we're trying to raise money for iPads through Autism Care Today, and we have the current goal of $5,000. If we raise a minimum of $5,000, Dr. Granpeesheh will shave my head live during the last hour of the podcast-a-thon. So brass tacks here, it's starting at 3 o'clock today. That's just a couple of hours from now. Yeah. It's dizzying to me to think about how much we have to do before that time, but I'll be so excited when it starts. And an amazing lineup. We hope that you guys will check it out. Go to autismnetwork.com and click anywhere on the podcast-a-thon, look at the calendar, scroll through, chart your course of when you want to be awake and when you don't want to be awake. Because I know it's like we all want to sleep in the middle of the night, but I'm doing some pretty wild and woolly things during the night. I just am. I'm just going to say. One of the nights I'm going to play clips that I've never shown before from my one-woman comedy show.
So good.
That are
so good.
Well, it's it's a little scary. They're not meant to be shown on this kind of a format, but you guys will forgive me. And that will be funny. And that's like at 3 o'clock in the morning when I will have the tee-hees.
Oh my God, it'll be so fun.
So that will be really fun. But there's some really good content too. We've got people talking about executive functions. So if you've got a kiddo who can't, like a teenager who can do the work but can't get it turned in, or they can't think to pick up this book and that thing, you're definitely going to want to tune into that. We've got people. Dr. Mary Barbera is going to talk about building language and reducing tantrums. Awesome. You're going to talk about anxiety and potty training and everything else under the sun. We've got somebody talking just about sleep issues. Yep. Amanda Ralston is going to be here with Eric Larson talking about sleep issues for people on the spectrum and how it affects the entire family.
It's so exciting. What time is that? Do you remember?
That is really early in the morning for us. It's like, I want to say is it 3 a.m. for us? I think so.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
I think so.
It's
really early. So it's 6 o'clock East Coast time because they're on East Coast time.
Right,
so it's even early for them, but it's crazy early for us. But that's going to be an amazing hour. We've got people from the Ed Asner Center who are going to be doing an hour.
Right.
We've got Connor, who is a 13-year-old chef, is going to be cooking for you tonight on Cooking with Connor and Friends. So that's really amazing. We have the Spec Labs Band tonight.
Oh my gosh,
who's going to be there.
Amazing.
Then we have 3 different hosts of Stories from the Spectrum for a total of 5 different hours of Stories from the Spectrum. Dr. Carrie Magro is going to do a 2-part Stories from the Spectrum early in the morning, both mornings, talking about the 15 things that you all need to know about autism from the perspective of someone on the spectrum. And then Amy Gravino, Amy is an autism sexuality advocate and relationship coach.
Great.
Amazing. And so she's doing 2 hours. In the first hour, she's going to talk about what it's like for her as a woman on the spectrum, to give that perspective. But then in the second hour that she's doing on the second morning, her guest is Dr. Peter Gerhardt.
Oh, that's fun.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, he's a great speaker. He's lots of fun to listen to.
So that will be really fun. And then the other hour of Stories from the Spectrum on Thursday morning early, Tom Island, who is an amazing, he's the first Toastmaster, official Toastmaster on the spectrum.
Oh, wow.
Great speaker. He's Emily Island's son.
That's amazing.
Amazing. And Tom's gone on to so many things. He does a lot of coaching, and he's going to be here with Rosetta Walker, who is known as the Queen of Inspiration. And Tom and Rosetta are boyfriend, girlfriend, maybe more. We'll wait and see what they say during that hour.
Great.
But they're going to be talking about love and marriage and relationships on the spectrum, and what it's like when somebody's on the spectrum and somebody else isn't, and how we have to be respectful. And all.
Love
They're
that.
going to tear it down and build it back up for you.
I love it.
Which will be super fun. Then we have all those other podcasts. Make sure that you're tuning in, because we've got South Africa that'll be joining us. We have the Chattapolis will be doing. We've got documentaries we're going to be talking about, 2 different documentaries. My Name is Siri. We got to tune out here in just. But the documentary, My Name is Siri, and then tomorrow, Nancy and I are going to be talking about the documentary Beyond.
Yes, wonderful.
Oh my
wow.
gosh,
so
you're
much
all going to
material.
need to know about that. So
Okay.
yeah, good stuff. Okay, all right.
Hopefully you won't lose your voice, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, who cares? I'll be all gruff and Lauren Bacall. Well,
Sounds great.
Looking forward to it. So the next time you see us, it's going to be time.
We'll see you at
So
3
please tune
o'clock.
in, please share, please come and bring a comfy slippers and tune in for a while, because it's going to be really great. All right, thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Thank
we'll
you.
see you later on today. Until then, give yourselves a hug from me and one for your kiddos too. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Or not. Maybe we'll stay. Maybe we'll stay.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.